Okay, boys and girls, we are combining sentences, and the sentences that we are doing in this lesson are the subject part of the sentence. We're going to be combining subjects to make one longer sentence that will help you with your writing. With instead of having a bunch of short, choppy sentences, you'll have some that are short and you'll have some that are longer. It'll make your writing better, and it'll make it better for the person who's reading your writing. First, let's talk about the word combine. The word combine means to put together. So this word combine, along with the word join, helps us to remember that they mean about the same thing. So we're combining sentences, we're joining the nouns in the subject part to combine two sentences that are similar. Okay, you combine anytime you put things together. So if you're making a cake or you're baking bread, you're putting flour and eggs and different things in, you're combining them together. Also, when you're adding, you're combining. If you have 2 red apples and 3 green apples and you put them together, you have 5 apples. So that's also combining. Okay, so you should have watched Conjunction Junction again to refresh your memory on what conjunctions are. The conjunction we're going to be using today is and. So we'll use and to join the nouns. We're going to leave out words that repeat. And we have to also make our subjects and verbs agree. Make sure, and a combined sentence has to have a complete subject and a complete predicate. Remember that the subject is the who or the what of the sentence, and the predicate is what they do. Okay, so just to remind you of that. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to go through this just like we did in class, because I know some people didn't make it to class today because of the technology issues. So I'm going to model for you how to do it on number 1. Then number 2, I'm going to take my time. I don't have anybody to interact with like I did in class, but I'm going to break it down just like I did when we did it in class today. You'll be responsible for doing numbers 4 and 5 on your own. Those 2 will be graded, but you have to do what I do on 1, 2, and 3. You can use your drawing tool as a highlighter. Just don't underline the words. Don't draw over the words, because then you can't see them, because the drawing tool on Class Dojo does not function like a highlighter. So I'll be highlighting, but you can use your drawing tool to help you understand what we're doing. Okay, so number 1, parents enjoyed the play, children enjoyed the play. So I think to myself, I have words here that repeat. I see enjoyed the play in both sentences. So I'm going to highlight that. And enjoyed the play is the predicate part. What did they do? They enjoyed the play. So I know that's the predicate part. So what's left is the subject. So I've got parents in this subject, and I've got children in this subject. So I can take those 2 words, and with the conjunction and, I can combine them, then just put my predicate at the end. I was using my keyboard earlier. This is going to get weird with writing, but anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write parents, has to have a capital P. It's the beginning of a sentence. Parents. And I need my conjunction. Children, I'm not going to capitalize children because it's a common noun. And it's not at the beginning of the sentence anymore. And now I'm going to put my, my predicate on there. Enjoyed the play. I type faster than I write with my finger, so it takes a little while. Okay, period at the end. So parents and children enjoyed the play. It's a complete sentence. I used my conjunction and. I have my 2 subjects, parents, children, and I have my predicate, enjoyed the play. All right, number 2. Tamika was a singing astronaut. Brad was a singing astronaut. So think to yourself, what is the same? If you chose was a singing astronaut, you are correct. Now, ask yourself, what part of the sentence is that? Is that the subject or the predicate? You should have said predicate because it is the action part. Now I know was is not an action word. It's a state of being verb, but it is the verb part. So the verb part was a singing astronaut. Okay, so now I have my two subjects. I have Tamika. I have Brad. So think for a second what I'm going to write on this line to put my combined subjects, my compound subject. Okay, so if you thought Tamika and Brad, remember you have to have the conjunction. They're both proper nouns, so I'm going to capitalize both of them. Tamika and Brad. Now remember, my subjects and predicates have to agree. My subjects and verbs have to agree. If I say Tamika and Brad was a singing astronaut, that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to have to fix it. So was is the singular version of the is verb. Okay, Tamika is. Today, Tamika is. Yesterday, Tamika was. So today, Tamika and Brad are. Yesterday, Tamika and Brad were. So were is the past tense plural of the verb is. So if that doesn't confuse you, nothing will. Okay, so Tamika and Brad were. Now we don't want to say a because the two of them together were not one astronaut. So I'm going to get rid of a and I'm going to make astronaut plural. And we just went through plural nouns, so I know that with most nouns, I can just add an S, astronauts. That is a word. So I'm going to go ahead and write astronauts. When I'm done, I'm going to reread my sentence to make sure that it makes sense. Period at the end. Tamika and Brad were singing astronauts. That is correct. Okay, number 3. The story was really funny. The songs were really funny. So think to yourself what repeats. Okay, now I notice really funny are both exact, but I also have was and were. But from what I explained to you about was and were in number 2, you know that they're essentially the same word. They're both the past tense of the is and are verbs. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight was really funny and were really funny. Okay, so now I want you to think about what the subjects are. Okay, the story. And notice the story is singular, so I used was after it. The songs are plural, and I used were after it. So now I'm going to have to fix that verb issue when I write my sentence. So first I'm going to write my first subject, the story. Need to keep my capital T because it's the beginning of a sentence. The story. Okay, now I need my conjunction. And then I have the songs. I don't capitalize the T because it's no longer at the beginning of the sentence and it's not a proper noun. It's not even a noun to begin with, so. Now, I know from the previous sentence that when I had plural subject, because it's compound, it's Tamika and Brad, I had to use were. So I'm going to have to keep this were, and so it'll be the story and the songs were. And then I end it with really funny. Period at the end. Now I'm going to reread it to make sure it makes sense. The story and the songs were really funny. That does make sense. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and do numbers 4 and 5. If you want to use your drawing tool to underline to help you, you can. You don't have to. If you understand it, you can just go through and combine your subjects. So that is combining sentences using compound subjects.